So you have a really great idea for a business. Now what? This is where I was about a year ago. I was in an in-between phase. Like most of us after COVID, I reevaluated my work life and was trying to figure out what to do next. And I honestly had no idea. And I will share with you a little bit about my story. But the reason why I'm creating this video blog is because along the way I learned a lot. When I started, I had no idea how to start a business because it's not anything I ever thought I would do. It's not anything I really ever had the desire to do. But I found myself in a situation where it became the most logical way forward with what I wanted to do with my life. And I am learning as I go. And I'm super grateful because I had plenty of help from a lot of people who knew what they were doing. But there was a lot of tripping along the way and a lot of problems that there was no way I could have foreseen them. So I just want to share a little bit of that with you in case it's helpful. Before I get into breaking down all of these problems and fires that you run into opening a business, I just want to tell you a little bit about my story. So again, after COVID, I was struggling a lot with my mental health and realized that a lot of this had to do with my work life. And I left my job and then I was like, oh no, oops, what am I gonna do now? And it was really scary. And after a lot of searching and therapy, I decided to pursue something that has always been a passion project for me and I've always done on the side, which is teaching yoga. But I never did it I did it full-time, but not as my full-time source of income. But I always had other jobs because I never wanted my students to become a number. I wanted them to stay people. I didn't want to think about the number of students in my class as how much money was in my pocket. So flash forward to quitting my job and realizing that this was what made sense for me to do full-time. But I didn't want to work for studios anymore. I worked for studios a lot. I always worked for studios. And it didn't really mesh with my style of teaching. I'm super grateful for every studio I worked for, every gym I worked for. The owners were always really nice to me as a person. However, when it comes to my teaching style, I didn't always vibe with their teaching style. And I felt really restricted a lot of the times in terms of what I could or could not do. And I always felt a little bit repressed. And this could completely be a me thing. It may have nothing to do with the studios. But for me, I realized teaching in a studio was not my path forward. Okay, so then what? Do I rent a space with the market prices everywhere? We happen to be in Lisbon, me and my business. But the market prices everywhere are insane for me to rent a space full-time to teach maybe like 5 times a week. And I realized there must be other people like this. And here was born my business, Thaki Keiju, which is a community space that helps non-traditionally self-employed people employ themselves without having to rent something full-time. And this was my idea. But then what? What do I do next? What's the next step? How do I make this ambiguous, dreamlike, almost intangible thing? How do I make this idea something that people can, a place? How do I make it a place? How do I make it a reality? And whether or not your business is an actual place, whether it's something more transient, it doesn't matter. You have to know what you're doing and you have to know what comes next. And it's really difficult. Even though I have a really great support system of people, I still sometimes feel like I'm alone. I feel isolated at my events, at my business. When I have community events, I don't get to participate the way everybody else does. I have to be the boss lady. And at the end of the day, even though I have tons of people helping me resolve my problems, at the end of the day, I'm the one who has to resolve it. And I can ask for help, but really the burden is on me. And sometimes this leaves me feeling really alone. This leaves me feeling, it's difficult to explain, but if you're doing this, you may understand. So let's do this together. Let's learn together. I'm still putting out new fires every day. So for me, it's also a really fun learning experience, but if I could share my experience and it in any way be helpful to somebody else, I'm really happy to do so, because it's been a really crazy journey, and it's still a really crazy journey. In the end, I thought I would get my space, and that would be it, right? I would move forward. But that's not what happened at all. And more on that later. But this is my short introduction. This is my story. If you want to share your story, please let me know what your story is. Let's talk. Let's create a community of business owners. Let's share our problems. If you have something you'd like for me to talk about, something you're currently dealing with, let me know. I'm happy to answer it if it's something I have experience in. But let's not be islands. Let's be islands together. Let's be a group of islands. But we don't have to do this alone. We can ask for help, and we can help each other. So tell me what you've learned. I'll share what I've learned, and let's create this same idea of community that I'm creating at my business in Lisbon. Let's create it online. I think that would be really neat for me to see this become an online support system, as well as the physical support system that I have here in my space. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you for listening.